They say you know real danger when you feel it in your bones. That night on the last train, I felt two kinds of danger. The man following me through empty stations. And Mafia boss Sebastian. The one who made the first danger disappear with nothing but his presence. The question wasn't which one scared me more. It was why the more dangerous one made me feel safe. Lauren knew she'd stayed too late the moment she descended into the subway station at 11:47 p.m. The fluorescent lights flickered over empty platforms. The usual crowd of commuters had thinned to almost nothing. Just a few scattered individuals, each carefully maintaining the urban distance that said, "Don't talk to me, don't look at me, don't exist near me." She should have taken a cab. Should have left the office an hour earlier. Should have done a lot of things that now, standing on the platform waiting for the last northbound train, felt like missed opportunities for better decisions. The case files had consumed her. A real estate dispute that seemed straightforward until she'd started tracing the ownership structures. Layers of shell companies, offshore accounts, patterns that screamed money laundering, but were just legal enough to exist in gray areas. Her firm wanted a clean opinion. Lauren was discovering that clean opinions were hard to provide when everything was deliberately murky. She'd lost track of time. Now she was paying for it. The platform was nearly empty. An elderly man dozed on a bench at the far end. A woman in scrubs, probably a nurse finishing a shift, stood closer to the tunnel, headphones in, swaying slightly to music only she could hear. And near the exit stairs, partially hidden by a support column, a man in a dark jacket. Lauren noticed him because he wasn't doing anything. Not checking his phone. Not reading. Not even pretending to look at the advertisement posters that covered the station walls. Just standing. Watching. The train arrived with a mechanical groan. Lauren stepped into the car, chose a seat in the middle where she could see both doors. The nurse got on 2 cars down. The elderly man shuffled onto a different car entirely. The man in the dark jacket got into Lauren's car, sat down 4 seats away. The doors closed. The train lurched forward into the tunnel. Lauren told herself it was coincidence. This was the last northbound train. Of course people would get on the same car. Of course someone might sit relatively close. This was New York. Proximity meant nothing. But her instincts, honed by years of dating the wrong men, by learning to read threats in body language and silences, were screaming that something was wrong. The man wasn't looking at his phone. Wasn't reading. Wasn't doing anything except sitting there with his hands in his jacket pockets, eyes fixed on nothing in particular, but his posture was angled toward her. Aware of her. 3 stops passed. The elderly man got off. 2 stops later, the nurse exited. Now it was just Lauren and the man in the dark jacket and one other person at the far end of the car, a kid, maybe 19, headphones on, lost in his phone. The man moved. Not much. Just shifted to a seat 2 positions closer. Lauren's pulse kicked up. She pulled out her phone. Pretended to scroll through messages while actually pulling up contacts. Who could she call? Her friend Jennifer wouldn't answer this late. Her building's doorman didn't have a direct line. 911 seemed like an overreaction for a man who was just sitting. But he'd moved closer. That wasn't nothing. Another stop. The kid got off. Now it was just Lauren and the man. The train pulled away from the station, and in the reflection of the dark windows, Lauren saw him stand. She stood too. Moved toward the door that connected to the next car. If she could just get to a car with more people. Stay in public view until her stop. Don't run. His voice was low. Close. He'd moved faster than she'd expected. Lauren's hand found the door handle. Leave me alone. I just want to talk. I don't want to talk. That's not really up to you. Her fingers closed around her phone. She could scream. Could try to get to the next car. The train was slowing. Next station. Doors would open. She could run. You're that lawyer, right? The one working on the Riverside case. His voice was casual, conversational. That made it worse somehow. You've been looking into things you shouldn't be looking into. People are concerned. Lauren's blood went cold. The Riverside case. The shell companies. The money laundering patterns she'd been tracing. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you do. Smart girl like you. You figured out things that certain people would prefer stayed figured out. He was close enough now that She could smell cigarettes and something sour. Those people asked me to have a conversation with you. About being more careful with your curiosity. The train stopped. Doors opened. Lauren bolted. She ran onto the platform. Not her stop. Didn't matter. Anywhere but in that car with that man. Her heels clacked against concrete. Behind her, footsteps. He was following. The platform was empty. Completely empty. Not even a station attendant in the booth. Lauren ran for the stairs. If she could get to street level, find people, find lights, find anywhere that wasn't this concrete tomb. There's nowhere to go. His voice echoed off tile walls. The conversation is happening whether you want it or not. She hit the stairs, took them two at a time. Her bag slipped off her shoulder. She let it fall, didn't matter. Nothing in it mattered more than getting away. Street level. Exit ahead. Almost there. The turnstiles. She'd need her card to get through the turnstiles. Her card was in her bag. On the platform. Behind her. Lauren spun. The man was at the top of the stairs, silhouetted against the harsh station lights. Smiling. Like I said. Nowhere to go. So let's have that conversation. He started toward her. Lauren backed against the turnstiles. Her mind raced through options: scream, fight, run back down to the platform, jump the turnstiles and risk arrest. The downtown train arrived below them. She could hear the doors opening. The man heard it too. Don't even think about it. But Lauren was already moving. Back down the stairs, sprinting for the platform. If she could get on that train, get away, get anywhere. She burst onto the downtown platform. The train sat there, doors open. Empty. No, not empty. A man stood in the doorway of the center car. Tall, dark suit. Perfectly still. Watching the scene unfold with the detached interest of someone observing a play. Lauren ran for the train. The man from upstairs was right behind her now. Footsteps pounding. She reached the doors. Started to get on. The man in the suit moved. Just slightly. Stepped out of the doorway into her path. Lauren skidded to a stop. Please. Please, I need to. Get on the train. His voice was different from the man chasing her. Deeper. Calm. Absolutely certain. Lauren hesitated for half a second. This stranger could be worse. Could be with the first man. Could be... now. Not a request. She got on the train. The man in the suit followed. Positioned himself between Lauren and the door. Between her and the man from upstairs who'd just reached the platform, breathing hard. Face twisted with anger. Walk away, the man in the suit said quietly. The chaser stopped at the doors. This doesn't concern you. It does now. You don't know who you're... I know exactly who I am. The question is whether you know. The man in the suit's voice never rose above conversational. Walk away. Or don't. Your choice. Something in his tone, the absolute certainty, the complete lack of concern, made the chaser's expression change. Anger shifting to uncertainty, then to something that looked like recognition. And fear. I didn't know she was, he started. Now you do. Walk away. The chaser backed up. Literally took 3 steps backward from the train doors. Raised his hands slightly. No problem. No problem at all. The doors closed. The train pulled away from the station. Lauren stood frozen, watching the man on the platform grow smaller. When she finally turned, the man in the suit was watching her with those calm, assessing eyes. Thank you, she managed. I don't know what would have happened if... You know exactly what would have happened. He moved to a seat, sat down like nothing unusual had occurred. Sit. You're safe now. Lauren sat. Because her legs were shaking. Because adrenaline was draining and leaving her hollow. Because this man, this stranger who'd just saved her from whatever that conversation was going to be, had told her to sit, and some part of her brain had decided that obeying was the smartest option available. Who are you? She asked. He looked at her for a long moment. Then with the slightest hint of something that might have been amusement. My name is Sebastian. I'm what people call the boss around here. The Mafia boss, specifically, if we're being accurate. Before we continue, I need to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where you couldn't tell if you were being rescued or just trading one danger for another? That moment when you're not sure if you should run or stay? Drop a comment below and tell me about it. And if you're already hooked on Lauren and Mafia boss Sebastian's story, hit that subscribe button. We bring you new dark romance stories every week where danger and desire walk a very thin line. Lauren stared at him. You're joking. I rarely joke. It wastes time. Sebastian settled back in the seat, completely relaxed. And before you panic, I'm not the danger here. The man who was following you was. I merely eliminated that variable. By being, what, a bigger danger? Lauren's voice was shaking, but she couldn't stop the words. You just told me you're a mafia boss. I told you what people call me. There's a difference, but for our current purposes, close enough. He gestured to the seat across from him. You're still standing like you're going to run. You're not. The next station is 3 minutes away. That man might still be there, and you have no bag, no card, and no way to get home safely. Sit. Lauren sat. Not because she wanted to. Because he was right about all of it. Good. Now breathe. You're about 30 seconds from a panic attack, and that won't help either of us. Either of us? You're not the one being threatened, followed? No, I'm not. But I am the one managing this situation, and it's easier to manage if you're conscious and coherent. Sebastian pulled out his phone, typed something. There. Your bag will be retrieved from the platform and returned to you. Your belongings are secure. Lauren couldn't process what was happening. How can you just? Because I can. Because this is my city. Because when I tell people to do things, they do them. He looked at her directly. The man following you works for someone who's concerned about the Riverside case you're investigating. Someone who doesn't understand that threatening lawyers is inefficient and draws unwanted attention. I'm going to have a conversation with that someone. You're going to go home, get some sleep, and tomorrow you'll receive a message that your safety is no longer in question. Why would you do that? Because situations like tonight are bad for business. They create chaos. Chaos is inefficient. Sebastian pocketed his phone. And because you're not the problem. You're just a lawyer doing your job. The problem is people who don't understand boundaries. The train was moving through tunnels, lights flickering. Lauren tried to organize her thoughts. You're telling me you're going to... what? Threaten someone on my behalf? I'm telling you I'm going to clarify boundaries. How that clarification happens isn't your concern. But you just saved me from a man who was going to threaten me by admitting you're a criminal. I saved you by being the more significant threat. There's a hierarchy to these things. That man answers to someone. That someone answers to me whether they know it yet or not. Sebastian's tone never changed, calm, certain, almost bored. By tomorrow, everyone involved will understand that you're under protection. The harassment stops. You continue your work. Problem solved. Lauren looked at this man, this stranger in an expensive suit who spoke about criminal hierarchies like he was discussing corporate org charts. And what do you want in return? Nothing. People don't do things for nothing. People with unclear motivations don't. I have very clear motivations. 1. Maintain order. Order requires protecting people who are threatened for doing legitimate work. You're doing legitimate work. Therefore, protecting you maintains order. He tilted his head slightly. Do you need me to draw a flowchart? Despite everything, the fear, the adrenaline, the surreal conversation with a man claiming to be a mafia boss, Lauren almost laughed. No, I understand logic. Good. Then understand this. As of now, you're under my protection. You don't have to do anything. You don't owe me anything. You just have to accept that certain people are no longer permitted to bother you. The train was slowing. Next station. This is your stop, Sebastian said. How do you know where I? Lauren stopped. Of course he knew. He'd known about the Riverside case. Known about the man following her. Probably knew everything about her. You've been watching me. I've been aware of you. There's a difference. Stop saying that. Stop making me need to explain the same distinctions. Sebastian stood as the train stopped. Come. I'll make sure you get home safely. I can get home on my own. You can. But you'll be looking over your shoulder every 5 steps, jumping at shadows. Not sleeping tonight because you're afraid that man or someone like him will be waiting. He moved to the doors. Or you can let me walk you to your building. Watch me make it clear to anyone paying attention that you're protected and actually sleep tonight. Your choice. The doors opened. Lauren stood there, caught between instincts screaming conflicting things. This man was dangerous. He'd admitted to being a criminal. She should run. But this man had also saved her. Had made the threat disappear with just his presence. And everything he was saying, cold and pragmatic as it was, made sense. Why should I trust you? She asked. You shouldn't, but you should trust that your current alternatives are worse. Sebastian stepped onto the platform, turned back. Coming? Lauren followed him off the train. Because he was right. Because she didn't have her bag or her card. Because she was terrified and exhausted, and this stranger who claimed to be a mafia boss was somehow the safest option available. What did that say about her life? They walked through the station in silence. Sebastian moved with casual confidence, like he owned every space he entered. Other people, the few scattered passengers, seemed to sense something, gave him space. Didn't make eye contact. At the turnstiles, a station attendant appeared. Mr. Sebastian. Ma'am. He opened the service gate without being asked. Thank you, Marcus, Sebastian said. On the street, the city was quieter but not empty. Taxis passed. A few people walked by. Lauren's building was 4 blocks north. She started walking. Sebastian fell into step beside her. You don't have to. I do. Until you're inside your building, under secure doors, with a doorman who can call for help if needed, you're still vulnerable. I'm eliminating that vulnerability. They walked a block in silence. Then Lauren asked, How long have you been watching me? 3 weeks. Since you started pulling corporate records on the Riverside project? Why? Because those records connect to business interests I monitor. I wanted to know who was looking and why. Sebastian glanced at her. You're very thorough. Most lawyers would have stopped at the first layer of shell companies. You kept digging. That's my job. That's dangerous curiosity. Are you saying I should stop investigating? I'm saying you should be aware that investigating makes you visible to people who prefer invisibility. Whether you stop is your decision. They turned onto Lauren Street. But you should know that as of now, investigating won't put you in physical danger. I've made that clear. Lauren stopped walking. You're protecting me so I can investigate people connected to you. I'm protecting you so that business disputes don't turn violent. What you do with your investigation is irrelevant to me. I don't have exposure in the Riverside project. But I have interest in ensuring that business, even illegal business, follows certain rules. Threatening lawyers violates those rules. You have rules. For crime. Everyone has rules. Mine are just more honest than most. Sebastian resumed walking. Your building is ahead. The doorman is named Tony. He's worked there 6 years. He'll remember me tomorrow when I have your bag delivered. They reached the building. Lauren's doorman Tony apparently straightened when he saw them approach. Evening, miss, Tony said, opening the door. Then with notable respect, Sir. Sebastian nodded. Tony, make sure Miss Mitchell gets to her apartment safely. If anyone asks for her tonight or follows her in, you call this number. He handed Tony a card. Immediately. Of course, sir. Lauren stood in the doorway, looking at this man who'd appeared from nowhere and rearranged her entire night. I don't understand what just happened. You were threatened. I eliminated the threat. You go inside and sleep. Tomorrow you'll receive your bag and confirmation that the situation is resolved. Sebastian's expression softened fractionally. That's all you need to understand tonight. Sebastian. Sleep, Lauren. We'll talk when you're not running on adrenaline and fear. He turned and walked away. Lauren watched him disappear into the city, flanked by 2 men who'd appeared from a car she hadn't noticed. Miss? Tony said gently. You should go up. Lauren went up. Unlocked her apartment with the spare key she kept in her pocket. Stood in her dark living room, looking at the city through her windows, trying to process what had happened. A man had followed her, threatened her. And another man, a criminal, a mafia boss, had saved her with nothing but his presence and a few words. And the most terrifying part was that she believed him, Believed she was safe now. Believed that whatever protection he'd offered was real. Believed that Mafia boss Sebastian was exactly what he claimed to be. Lauren didn't sleep. She sat on her couch, lights off, watching the street below. Waiting for what? The man from the subway to appear? Sebastian to return? Some other shoe to drop in a night that had already exceeded her capacity for processing strange events? At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Your bag is secure. Will be delivered at 8 a.m. Sleep, Lauren. You're safe. She should be terrified that he had her number. Instead, she felt relief. Because that message, cold and brief as it was, confirmed he was real. That the protection he'd offered existed beyond that moment on the train. Lauren finally slept around 4 a.m. Woke to knocking at 8:03. Tony stood in the hallway with her bag. This was delivered for you. Everything's inside, checked it myself. Inside, everything was exactly as she'd left it. Wallet, keys, work files. Plus a note on heavy cardstock. The situation has been addressed. You won't be followed again. Continue your work without concern. Sebastian, no phone number. No instructions. Just certainty that the threat was gone. Lauren called her office, said she'd be late. Then she sat with her coffee and actually looked at the note. Expensive paper. Handwritten in clean, precise script. This wasn't a quick scribble. Someone Sebastian had taken time with this. Why would a mafia boss take time writing her a note? Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered, pulse jumping. Good morning, Lauren. Sebastian's voice, unmistakable. How did you get your number? The same way I got your address, your employer, your case files. Information is easy when you know where to look. He paused. I'm calling to confirm you received your bag and to answer any questions you might have when you're not terrified and running on adrenaline. Lauren moved to her window. The man from the subway. What happened to him? He was educated about boundaries. He won't approach you again. Educated how? In ways that don't require your knowledge or concern. The relevant fact is the outcome, not the method. You're asking me to trust that you handled it. I'm telling you I handled it. Trust is optional. Sebastian's tone shifted slightly. Lauren, I understand this is unusual. You're a lawyer. You operate in systems with rules and procedures. I operate differently. But the result is the same. You're safe to do your work without harassment. And you expect nothing in return. I expect you to continue being thorough in your investigations. I expect you to not deliberately put yourself in danger. Beyond that, nothing. Lauren sat with that. Why me? There are lots of lawyers investigating lots of cases. Why do I get protection? Because your case intersected with my interests at a moment when someone thought threatening you was acceptable. It wasn't. I corrected that misunderstanding. He paused. And because I respect competence. You're very good at your job. It would be wasteful to let that be destroyed by people who lack imagination. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an observation. Both. She could hear something that might have been amusement. I have to go. You have my number now. It's stored in your phone as emergency only. Use it if you feel unsafe. Otherwise, go back to your life. This incident is closed. Sebastian. Yes? Thank you. For last night. I don't understand it, but thank you. You're welcome. Be safe, Lauren. He hung up. Lauren looked at her phone, checked contacts. There it was. Emergency only, with a number she definitely hadn't entered herself. The man was thorough, she'd give him that. At work, Lauren buried herself in files. The Riverside case was still there, still complicated, still reeking of money laundering through legitimate real estate. But now she worked without looking over her shoulder. Without jumping when colleagues approached her desk. Because she believed Sebastian. Believed that his protection, whatever that meant, however it worked, was real. 3 days passed. Nothing happened. No followers. No threats. No mysterious men in subway stations. On the 4th day, Lauren received an email from a senior partner. Need to discuss the Riverside case. My office, 4 p.m. In the partner's office, he closed the door. Looked uncomfortable. Lauren, I'm taking you off Riverside. Her stomach dropped. Why? I'm close to finishing the analysis. Someone called. Someone significant. Made it clear that this case is more complicated than we realized. He wouldn't meet her eyes. They also made it clear that you're not to be touched, not to be threatened, but that the firm should consider whether pursuing this particular investigation serves our interests. Who called? I can't tell you that. But they were persuasive. We're dropping the case. After the meeting, Lauren sat at her desk, understanding what had happened. Sebastian had protected her. But he'd also protected the interests connected to the Riverside project by making her firm back off. She pulled out her phone. Looked at the contact. Emergency only. This wasn't an emergency. This was... what? A question? A confrontation? She typed, "You had my firm drop the Riverside case." Response came immediately. "I ensured you wouldn't be threatened while investigating it. Your firm chose to drop it for their own reasons. I can't control their risk tolerance." That's semantic manipulation. That's accurate. There's a difference. Despite everything, Lauren smiled. Stop saying that. Stop making me need to explain distinctions. She sat with her phone. This stranger who'd entered her life through violence and stayed through protection. Who spoke in certainties and operated in shadows, but somehow made her feel safer than any legal system ever had. "Can I buy you coffee?" She typed before she could overthink it. To say thank you properly. Long pause. Then, why? Because I'd like to understand who you are beyond the man who saves people on subway trains. Another pause. That's dangerous curiosity. I thought you'd learn better. Apparently not. Final pause. Then, Saturday. 2 p.m. I'll send the address. Don't bring your lawyer brain. Just come as yourself. Lauren stared at the message. She just asked a Mafia boss out for coffee, and he'd said yes. What was she doing? The same thing she'd done on that subway platform. Choosing the dangerous option because somehow, impossibly, it felt safer than the alternative. Saturday arrived with unexpected sunshine. Lauren dressed carefully, not professionally, not casually, something in between. Meeting a man who'd saved her life. Who'd also probably destroyed people who got in his way. Coffee. Just coffee. To say thank you and understand. The address Sebastian sent was a small cafe in a neighborhood Lauren didn't know well. When she arrived, he was already there, sitting at a corner table with clear sightlines to the entrance. He looked different in daylight, less severe. Though maybe that was just her perception adjusting. Lauren. He stood briefly, old-fashioned courtesy from a criminal. Thank you for coming. Thank you for agreeing. She sat. I wasn't sure you would. I wasn't sure I should. Sebastian gestured to the barista, who immediately brought 2 cappuccinos. But curiosity works both ways. I wanted to see why a woman who was terrified of me 4 days ago would ask to meet. I wasn't terrified of you. You were. Appropriately, I'm a dangerous person. He sipped his coffee. But you're here anyway. Why? Lauren considered honesty. Because I can't stop thinking about that night. About how you made the threat disappear. About how I felt safer with you. A stranger who admitted to being a criminal than I did alone. That bothers you. It should bother me. Somehow it doesn't. Sebastian studied her. You grew up believing in systems, rules, laws, procedures. You became a lawyer because you believe structure protects people. Then you encountered a situation where structure failed and someone else protected you instead. Now you're trying to reconcile those facts. You make it sound so analytical. It is analytical. Human behavior is usually simpler than people want to believe. You're drawn to me because I represent effective protection without the pretense of legitimacy. That's attractive when you've just discovered that legitimacy doesn't actually keep you safe. Lauren wanted to argue, but he was right. Do you analyze everyone like this? Only people who interest me. Sebastian set down his cup. You want to understand who I am. What I am. That's reasonable. So ask your questions. Are you really a mafia boss? I really am someone who controls significant criminal enterprise in the city. Whether that makes me a boss in the traditional sense is semantic. But yes, for our purposes, the term fits. And you just tell people that? I tell people who need to know and who I trust to be discreet. You've demonstrated discretion. You haven't reported our encounter, haven't told your firm, haven't done anything that would complicate the protection I'm providing. That earns honesty. Lauren absorbed that. The man on the subway, what happened to him? He received a very clear education about acceptable behavior. He won't threaten anyone again without explicit permission from people who won't give it for something as stupid as intimidating a lawyer. Did you hurt him? I didn't personally know. Did he experience consequences that involved discomfort? Probably. I don't micromanage everything. The casual way he said it, acknowledging violence without dwelling on it, should have been chilling. Instead, Lauren found it almost reassuring. At least he was honest. Why do you do this? She asked. The criminal enterprise. You're clearly intelligent, organized. You could make money legitimately. I tried legitimacy when I was younger. I learned that legal doesn't mean fair and rules don't protect people who start without power. Sebastian leaned back. What I do now, it exists because systems fail. Because there are needs and services that legitimate business won't touch. I fill that gap. By breaking laws. By operating outside them. There's a difference. Lauren smiled despite herself. You really do love that phrase. I love precision. Words matter. His expression softened fractionally. Lauren, I'm not going to pretend I'm noble. I'm not going to justify my choices with moral arguments. But I'm going to be honest. What I do well. I protect people who work for me. I maintain order in chaotic spaces. And occasionally, I prevent violence against people who don't deserve it. People like me. People like you. They sat in comfortable silence. Lauren sipped her cappuccino, watching this man who spoke about crime like it was business, who'd saved her life and then given her space to process it. What happens now? She asked finally. That depends on what you want to happen. I don't know what I want. Then we have more coffee, we talk. You decide if understanding me makes you more or less comfortable with the protection I've offered. Sebastian's eyes held hers. But Lauren? Whatever you decide, the protection remains. You're under it now. That doesn't change based on whether you like me. What if I told you to leave me alone? I'd respect that. I'd also continue ensuring you're safe, just from a distance you're comfortable with. It was the answer she'd needed to hear. He wasn't trying to trap her. Wasn't using protection as leverage. Just offering it, independent of what she gave back. I'd like to understand more, Lauren said. About you. About how you see the world. Not because I'm planning to write an expose or build a case. Just because I'm curious about the man who saved my life. Dangerous curiosity. Apparently I have a type. Sebastian actually smiled. Genuine warmth that transformed his face. Apparently you do. All right, we'll do this carefully. I'll answer what I can. You'll tell me when it becomes too much. We'll find a balance between worlds. Exactly. They talked for 2 hours. About the city, about power structures, about the difference between legal and just. Sebastian answered her questions with disarming honesty. Lauren found herself laughing at his dry observations, arguing his logic, feeling more engaged than she had in years. When they left the cafe, Sebastian walked her to the subway. At the entrance, he paused. Thank you for today. For not running. For being curious instead of terrified. Thank you for the honesty. For not pretending to be something you're not. Lauren? Sebastian's voice was quieter. You're remarkable. You should know that. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away. Lauren descended into the subway, her mind full of coffee shop philosophy and Mafia boss confessions. Of a man who'd entered her life through violence, but stayed through something that felt dangerously close to connection. She was in trouble. The kind of trouble that started with curiosity and ended with caring about people you absolutely shouldn't. But maybe, just maybe trouble was exactly what she needed. 2 weeks after the coffee meeting, Lauren's life had settled into a new normal. Work continued. The Riverside case was closed. No one followed her. No mysterious threats appeared. And Sebastian texted occasionally. Brief messages, never intrusive. Hope you're well. Saw an article about real estate law you'd appreciate. Sleep well, Lauren. It was the sleep well that got to her. Every few nights, like clockwork. Like he knew she sometimes struggled with insomnia, like he was checking in without demanding acknowledgement. She always texted back, "I'm fine. Working too much." That article was surprisingly interesting. Trying. You too. It was the most unusual courtship, if that's what this was, Lauren had ever experienced. A criminal who'd saved her life now sending her legal articles and goodnight wishes. She mentioned it to Jennifer over lunch, vaguely. "I'm sort of seeing someone." Sort of? It's complicated. He's different than anyone I've dated. Good different or concerning different? Both? Neither? I don't know yet. Jennifer studied her. "You look happy, uncertain but happy." "I'm going to trust that you know what you're doing." Did she? Lauren wasn't sure. But she knew she felt safer than she had in years. Knew that Sebastian's presence in her life, distant and irregular as it was, made the city feel less threatening. That night, her phone rang at 11 p.m. "Sebastian, I'm outside your building. Can you come down?" Lauren's pulse jumped. "Why? What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. I want to show you something." Dress warm. She should ask more questions. Should demand explanations. Instead, she pulled on jeans and a jacket and went downstairs. Sebastian waited in a car, not the sleek black sedan she'd expected, but something smaller, more normal. He was driving himself. "Get in." "Where are we going?" "Somewhere you need to see." "Trust me." Lauren got in. They drove through the city, across the bridge into Brooklyn neighborhoods that gradually became less urban, more industrial. Finally, Sebastian parked near a warehouse district. "Come on." He led her to a building, used a key to unlock a heavy door. Inside, industrial space had been converted to something else. Lauren couldn't quite process what she was seeing. Training equipment, boxing bags, mats, but also desks with computers, a small library, comfortable seating areas. "This is a youth center," Sebastian said. "I run it. Have for 6 years. Kids from rough neighborhoods come here after school. They train, study, get help with homework. Get away from streets that want to consume them." Lauren walked through the space. Photos on walls showed kids of all ages, some in boxing stances, some holding diplomas, some in graduation gowns. "You fund this. I fund this. I staff it. I make sure every kid who walks through that door has a chance to become something other than what their circumstances suggest they should become." Sebastian moved to a wall covered in photos. "This is what I do with the money I make from crime. I give kids options." Lauren looked at photo after photo. Success stories. Kids who'd gone to college, who'd gotten jobs, who'd escaped poverty because someone gave them space and time and belief. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because I want you to understand who I am beyond the man on the subway. Beyond the criminal." Sebastian's voice was quieter. "I'm not good, Lauren. I've hurt people. I've broken laws. I've done things I can't take back, but I'm also this. Someone who believes kids deserve better than what they're born into." Lauren turned to face him. "You're more complicated than I thought. Everyone is. We just don't usually admit it." They stood in the empty youth center, surrounded by evidence of lives changed, and Lauren felt something shift. This wasn't just attraction to danger. This wasn't just gratitude for protection. This was actually caring about who Sebastian was beneath the power and the control. "Can I help?" she asked. "With the center. I don't know how, but can I?" Sebastian looked surprised. "You want to help?" "I want to be part of something that matters. And this matters. It would mean spending time with me." "More than occasional coffee." "I know. It would mean entering my world more fully. Seeing things you might not want to see." "I know that too." Lauren stepped closer. "Sebastian, I've spent 2 weeks trying to convince myself that what I feel for you is just misplaced gratitude. It's not. I don't know what it is yet, but it's not just gratitude." His expression did something complicated. "Lauren, you don't have to say anything. I just need you to know I'm choosing this. Choosing to understand you. Choosing to see where this goes." Sebastian reached out slowly, giving her every chance to move away. His hand touched her face, gentle despite the power she knew it contained. "You're remarkable," he said again. And probably too smart to be making this choice. Definitely too smart. Making it anyway. He smiled. Then kissed her softly at first, then deeper when she responded. Lauren's hands found his shoulders. His arms circled her waist. They stood in the youth center surrounded by photos of hope, kissing like they were the only two people in the city. When they separated, both were breathing harder. "This is dangerous," Sebastian said. "I know. Undangerous. I know that too. And you still want this." "I still want this." He rested his forehead against hers. "Okay, then we try this. Carefully. Honestly. But we try." Lauren nodded against him. "Okay." Sebastian drove her home later, walked her to her door. Tony the doorman nodded knowingly. At her door, Sebastian kissed her again. "Sleep well, Lauren." "You too. I sleep better knowing you're safe." After he left, Lauren stood in her apartment, touching her lips, understanding that she'd just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. She was involved now. With a criminal. With someone dangerous. With someone who ran youth centers and sent goodnight texts and kissed like she was precious. She was in so much trouble. And she didn't regret a second of it. 3 months after the subway incident, Lauren sat in Sebastian's car outside the youth center, watching kids stream out after evening sessions. Some waved to Sebastian. He waved back. "Marco got his college acceptance yesterday," Sebastian said. "Full scholarship. He's going to study engineering." "That's the kid from the photo? The one who was in a gang?" "Was in a gang. Now he's going to build bridges," Sebastian smiled. Literally, Lauren had become a regular at the center. Helping with homework. Reviewing college applications. Offering advice to kids who wanted to understand law and justice and systems. She'd also become a regular in Sebastian's life. Dinners twice a week. Weekends at a country house he owned. Late-night conversations about philosophy and power and the spaces between legal and just. Her friends knew she was seeing someone. Her firm knew she seemed happier. No one knew exactly who or what Sebastian was. Lauren kept that separate. Some things weren't meant to be explained. "I love you," Sebastian said suddenly. "I wasn't sure I was capable of that." Turns out I was wrong. Lauren's chest tightened. "I love you too." Even though it makes no sense. Most real things don't. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city move around them. "Do you ever regret it?" Lauren asked. "Meeting me? Getting involved?" "No, you've made me remember why I do what I do. Not just the crime, the rest of it. The parts that matter. I've made you remember you're human." Something like that. Lauren's phone buzzed. Text from Jennifer. "Drinks? This weekend? Need to actually meet this mysterious man you're seeing." She showed Sebastian. "My friend wants to meet you. What would you tell her I do?" "Private security consulting." Which is technically true. Very technically. Sebastian considered. "If you want me to meet your friends, I will. I'll be on my best civilian behavior." "You have civilian behavior?" "I have many behaviors. I'm very versatile." Lauren laughed. They developed this easy banter that made the impossible feel normal. A mafia boss and a lawyer, joking in a car outside a youth center. "Sebastian? Do you think this can actually work, long term?" He looked at her directly. "I think we're already making it work. The question is whether you can live with what I am. With the reality that I'll always operate outside systems you believe in. I've spent 3 months watching you. You operate outside systems, but you have your own code. Your own rules. That's not lawlessness, it's different law. You've become very philosophical. You've been a bad influence. The best kind of influence." He reached for her hand. "Lauren, I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you safe in the traditional sense. But I can promise you honesty, protection, and someone who sees exactly who you are and values every part of it. That's more than normal people promise. I'm not normal people. Thank God for that." They drove back to Manhattan, the city lights blurring past. At Lauren's building, Sebastian parked, walked her to the door. "Stay tonight," Lauren said. Not a question, an invitation. "Are you sure?" "I've been sure for weeks. I was just waiting for the right moment to say it." Sebastian kissed her deep and certain. Then yes, I'll stay. Upstairs in her apartment, they moved carefully. Not because they were uncertain, but because this mattered. Because choosing each other meant accepting everything they were: lawyer and criminal, structure and chaos, legitimate and something else entirely. Later, wrapped in each other, Lauren traced the scar on Sebastian's shoulder, old bullet wound, he'd told her. Reminder of why control mattered. I never thought I'd end up here, she said quietly. Where? In bed with a criminal? In bed with someone who makes me feel safer than the law ever did. Someone who saved me on a subway train and then showed me a whole different way to see the world. Sebastian pulled her closer. You saved yourself. You chose to get on that train. To ask questions. To not run when every instinct probably told you to. I just provided the space for those choices. You provided more than space. Maybe. But you did the hard part. You chose to see complexity instead of just danger. Lauren settled against him. Do you remember what you said that first night? On the train? I said many things. You said I was safe now, just like that. So certain. I was certain. You were under my protection. That made you safe. It still does, doesn't it? I'm still under your protection. Always. That doesn't end, Lauren. Whether you're with me or not. You're mine to protect now. The possessiveness should have bothered her. Instead, it felt like belonging. Like being claimed by someone who actually understood what that meant. I'm yours, she said softly. Weird as that is to admit. Not weird. Just honest. We're very good at honesty. They fell asleep like that lawyer and Mafia boss. Legitimate and criminal. Two people who shouldn't fit together but somehow did. In the morning, Lauren woke to Sebastian already dressed, coffee made, watching the city through her windows. I have to go, he said. Business that can't wait. The illegal kind? The complicated kind. But I'll be back tonight if you want me. I want you. He kissed her goodbye, soft and certain. Then I'll be back. Stay safe, Lauren. I'm under your protection. I'm always safe. After he left, Lauren stood at her window with coffee, thinking about how she'd gotten here. A subway train. A man following her. And Sebastian appearing exactly when she needed him, offering protection that came with honesty instead of pretense. She'd never get on that last train and not think of him. Never walk those platforms without remembering the night her life split into before and after. Never stop being grateful that the most dangerous man in the city was the one who made her feel safest. Some love stories started with meet-cutes and flowers. Hers started with a threat and a criminal's certainty. And she wouldn't change a single second of it. Sometimes danger comes in obvious forms, men following you through empty stations. And sometimes it comes in suits and certainty, claiming to be the bigger threat while offering the only real safety you've ever known. Lauren took the last train home that night and found something she never expected. Protection without pretense. Strength without performance. Love that acknowledged complexity instead of demanding simplicity. The most dangerous man became her safest place. And in choosing him, she learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is trust the danger that tells the truth over the safety that lies. Some nights, Lauren still takes the subway late. But now she never looks over her shoulder. Because she knows who's watching. And she knows she's home.